Hello everyone. We are stepping into the absolute pinnacle of strategic technology decision making, the multi-million dollar executive choice between building from scratch, buying off the shelf, or extending what you already own. Let's start with the formal definition of an enterprise resource allocation paradigm, which is a strategic decision making framework utilized by executive leadership to evaluate whether to develop custom software assets internally, purchase commercial off-the-shelf products, or customize existing software licenses to fulfill localized business operational needs. Now, to translate that into very simple real-world English for adult learners, this is the ultimate make, buy, or modify dilemma that keeps every chief technology officer and chief financial officer awake at night. When your business identifies a critical workflow bottleneck that needs an intelligent software fix, you cannot afford to just blindly guess your way forward. If you choose the wrong path, you risk throwing millions of dollars of corporate cash down the drain on a bloated engineering project, or locking your company into an inflexible software contract that doesn't actually solve your specific business problem. Think of it like deciding how to acquire a fleet of delivery vehicles for a commercial logistics firm. Do you build a custom vehicle from the chassis up? Buy standard cargo vans straight from a dealership lot? Or take your existing company trucks and install specialized refrigeration units in the back? Stay with me here because mastering how to evaluate these three clear pathways is what separates a standard IT manager from a world-class strategic executive who knows how to optimize corporate capital. So, now that we have mapped out the overarching layout of this procurement crossroads, you might be wondering what specific strategic boundaries define the buy path for everyday business operations. Well, that brings us right into our next step. The technical definition of a commercial off-the-shelf software acquisition framework is the procurement and immediate deployment of standardized vendor-maintained software applications designed to satisfy commodity business functions without internal source code modification. In plain English, this is your fast-track option. Buying a pre-built software tool that is ready to use 20 minutes after you swipe the company credit card. The boundary lines for a buy strategy are incredibly clear. You choose this path when the business problem you are trying to solve is a standard commodity function shared by almost every company on earth, such as basic accounting ledgers, standard human resource onboarding portals, or routine customer support ticketing lines. There is absolutely no competitive advantage in spending 2 years writing custom code just to generate an invoice or file an expense report. You simply buy the best vendor software available on the market, let them handle the continuous security patches, and immediately hand the tool to your staff. Let's break this down together so we can avoid over-engineering our corporate footprint. Because as a strategic leader, you want to preserve your engineering talent for high-value proprietary projects and choose the fastest, cheapest path for everyday administrative chores. So, now that we have locked down the exact operational boundaries of the buy strategy, you might be wondering when it makes sense to pivot to the extend strategy by building custom additions onto your existing software. Well, that brings us right into our next step. When we analyze modern platform capability, the formal definition of a software platform extension framework is the systematic customization of an existing verified enterprise software ecosystem via integrated application programming interfaces, plugins, and custom data connectors to embed new functional capabilities while remaining within the core vendor governance framework. To put that in simple everyday language, this means taking a platform your company already pays for, such as Microsoft 365, Salesforce, or SAP, and giving it specialized new superpowers by plugging in your own internal files and databases. The boundary for the extend strategy is your sweet spot for specialized business workflows. You choose this path when your team uses standard tools every day but needs those tools to access highly specific corporate knowledge or trigger unique background operations, such as an automated credit check system inside a standard sales dashboard or an internal policy search engine right inside an employee chat room. Imagine taking a highly secure, reliable factory car and simply installing a specialized custom trailer hitch on the back. You get the exact custom utility you need without the massive cost of inventing a brand new vehicle from scratch. This strategy bridges the gap between fast procurement and tailored functionality, allowing your enterprise to scale rapidly while utilizing your current software infrastructure. So, now that we have mastered the balance boundaries of the extend strategy, you might be wondering what rare, high stakes operational conditions require you to commit to the heavy build strategy. Well, that brings us right into our next step. The textbook definition of a bespoke proprietary software development paradigm is the internal engineering, training, and deployment of custom algorithmic models and custom software architectures designed to capture unique corporate intellectual property and deliver a distinct market advantage. In simple language, this is your heavy duty path, hiring a team of elite software engineers to write original code from scratch, design unique data pipelines, and train custom machine models that your company owns outright. The boundaries for the build strategy are highly restrictive and should be guarded with absolute discipline. You only commit your company's capital to this path when the business requirement is highly proprietary, completely core to your competitive market advantage, and completely unavailable anywhere on the global software market. If you are developing a revolutionary, top secret pharmaceutical chemical discovery matrix, or an advanced proprietary high frequency financial trading system that makes your firm unique, you absolutely build it from scratch so you can patent the intellectual property, maintain total data insulation, and block your competitors from ever copying your system. I once had a student who wasted $2 million trying to build a custom internal messaging application from scratch, only to realize their staff preferred using a standard office chat tool anyway. Let's avoid that mistake by reserving our development budget for true proprietary innovation. So, now that we have categorized our three strategic pillars and know how to draw their boundary lines, you might be wondering how these choices impact your long-term corporate governance. Well, that brings us right into our next step. The formal definition of technology portfolio risk mitigation is the analytical evaluation of vendor dependency, data security, and long-term operational flexibility across distinct software procurement pathways to ensure compliance and business continuity. In real-world English, this means looking closely at the hidden trade-offs and risks tied to each choice so you don't walk blindly into a strategic trap. Buying off-the-shelf software gives you instant speed, but leaves you completely at the mercy of the vendor's pricing hikes and feature changes. Extending your current platform balances speed and customization, but leaves you dependent on that core provider's infrastructure. Building from scratch gives you absolute ownership and zero vendor fees, but saddles your company with permanent, high-cost software engineering overhead and continuous code maintenance. Think of it like balancing a financial investment portfolio. You never want to put all your capital into a single asset class without calculating the risk profile. By systematically comparing these three parts across a standardized risk matrix, you protect your company from sudden system obsolescence and ensure that your technology choices perfectly support your long-term corporate goals. So, now that we have analyzed the strategic risks, you might be wondering how to build a unified multi-year technology roadmap to present to your executive steering committee. Well, that brings us right into our next step. The technical definition of an enterprise procurement capability roadmap is a high-level strategic timeline that structures the evaluation, staging, and execution of build, buy, and extend methodologies across distinct business units to maximize capital efficiency. In simple English, this is your master battle plan that you take to the executive boardroom to show exactly how your company will allocate its resources over the next 12 to 24 months. You don't try to solve every problem with a single strategy. Instead, you outline a structured, balanced approach, buying commodity tools for basic admin tasks, extending your core enterprise platforms for specialized team operations, and hyper-focusing your internal engineering talent on true proprietary breakthroughs that build long-term company value. By presenting a clean, structured, strategic blueprint, you eliminate corporate alignment confusion, secure multi-million-dollar executive funding, and position yourself as a mature, forward-thinking leader who knows how to drive sustainable digital transformation. You now hold the complete navigational map to the executive dilemma. So, now that we have defined the boundaries of build, buy, and extend, you might be wondering how to deeply evaluate and execute a pure buy strategy for standard everyday business commodities. Well, that brings us right into our next chapter.